The bar for Zoomers is so incredibly low. You ever notice that?
Well, yeah, that's what we just started talking about, right?
Yeah, right.
It's not like the standards for Zoomers so well, but just rather the threshold. I feel like, given everything I see online about how, especially American Zoomers are doing, and not living in America, you're living half the world over. Like, everything I know is basically through the filter of what I see online. So perhaps I'm just mistaken. I mean, I try to look at a variety of perspectives, different types of people, and everything. But just in general, there seems to be a malaise among Zoomers, and a lot of complaints about things aren't good, materially at all. And so looking at that and assuming that is an reasonably accurate judgment, it seems that the threshold for doing well as a Zoomer is like, it's low in the sense of like what standards used to be, but it's because it's harder to achieve those lower things, So like, it's like, do you have, especially if you're a guy, do you have a girlfriend, right? Like, I can't tell you how many videos I see of like, it's like dating is impossible now, it's garbage and all this, and and if you look at the stats, apparently it confirms that like men are in their 20s are just like having less relationships and all this and all the related stuff that go along with a relationship, if you know what I mean, than like generations past. And so it's like, if you have a girlfriend, bam, you're already doing like reasonably well. But it's not because like the standards are low, it's rather because it's so hard to get what used to be easy. What used to be low-hanging fruit is like the tree started growing, so now you have to like reach higher for it. But it's like what used to be considered like just anyone can do it. Like, okay, yeah, girlfriend. Now, okay, well, dude, you got a girlfriend. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Do you have a job? It doesn't even matter if it's like a good or prestigious job. Just like, do you have a job, and is it enough to afford rent and live alone? Like, no roommates? Like, do you have a job that you can afford to live alone and more or less do what you want? Like, like nothing super luxurious, but if you want to eat out to eat, you could do that.
Yeah.
You could, if you want to buy a new video game, you can. Like, you could generally have some impulse purchases, and you could afford to live alone, and you can eat reasonably well. Like, dude, you're doing pretty well there.
Yeah, I agree. At least for Zoomer standards, right? But it's always the idea that comes up, which is, 60 years ago, it was very easy to raise an entire family on one income, which I still can't
You
believe.
could have a house.
I can't believe
You could have a house.
Yeah.
And a like multiple kids.
Yes.
And a stay-at-home wife.
Right.
And now the standard is, dude, you have like your own apartment?
Yeah. You have your own apartment.
You can afford McDonald's once a week. Apparently, that's expensive now too. Is what I heard.
Mickey D's is too expensive, and I think about this all the time when I'm going out and figuring out my budget. But like, if you, for lunch, for example, even like food expenses. I calculated this on what most people make in Tokyo. You probably shouldn't spend more than like 1,000 or 1,200 yen on food per day. But then you go to some like restaurants, and you're gonna at least like with the drink, and then maybe an appetizer like an otoshi, and then the main course meal. That's like at least 2,000, 2,200 yen for one person. So you're already 1,000 over budget. And if you do that every day, well then there goes your savings. But then you're hungry. And it's like, okay, well fine. What do I do? Either like you ask your parents for help, which a lot of Zoomer parents are like, fuck you, kid. I mean, we had it hard when we were growing up. That's you gotta get your act together, which sounds like some parents I know. Love you, Dad. And I'm just tired of
I'm sorry, but that just reminds me so much of a quote from one of my favorite movies, with Nail and I. It's one of those movies that you either love it or you hate it. You either get it or you don't.
Yeah.
But like, there's a famous quote there where like both characters are broke as hell, and they're actors and they're currently out of work. And they're broke as hell. But one of the characters, his dad is apparently from a fairly wealthy family. Like, he comes from like basically minor gentry. Like, this is in Britain, the British context, but basically like minor noble background or something. And like, there's a point where the characters are in a pub drinking, and it's just and the other character who comes from a more humble background is talking to his friend, and he's like, if my dad was rich, like, I would ask him for money. And then Whiffnail, the character whose dad has money, looks back at him and he says, in a very like bitter tone, "Well, if your dad was my dad, you wouldn't get it."
It's like Jackie Chan and his son. Apparently, Jackie Chan's son's not getting jack shit
Oh,
from exploitation either. Yeah, I don't really know. Like you gotta work for it. You have to develop a strong mindset and work ethic, because otherwise you're not a properly developed citizen for some reason. But I think of like savings, for example, right? Like, you can't save money. It's really hard to do that unless you're really fortunate. And I think savings, in some sense, is like almost akin to freedom in a way, because that's the money that you can use on whatever you want. You can invest it, you can buy assets, or you can like have fun. And if you can't save, then you're limited to just like necessities and the things you need to get every month. And what that means is, without savings, it's like slavery. It's like very close to slavery.
Whoa! If you saw the title of the last video, or at least the idea of it, like, what are we are we communists? Question mark. I hope you're still going to upload that, by the way.
I haven't.
But I hope you do that.
This will probably be up first.
Oh, damn it! But like, are we communists? Question mark. And now you're independently arriving at the same conclusions Marx is talking about how Marx literally does talk about this, about how wage slavery actually is just slavery.
Yes.
Like, it's the same thing, basically. Right. He argues that wage slavery actually is just slavery. Dude, first you're a communist, now you're a Marxist too?
Yeah, I know. It's a trait of a thinking human being, sue me. The way that everybody is living now, it's like no one has savings, and I fear that in the not-too-distant future, the cost of living and like average wages are going to be so far removed that you can't even enjoy like any facet of life anymore.
I mean, the part I find craziest, because I thought, like, no way this is actually gonna happen. When I first heard it, I'm like, maybe not 2030, maybe like 2050, but like, no, like Klaus Schwab's whole like you will own nothing and be happy by 2030, like the prediction, the prediction that he made was like, he was talking to the World Economic Forum. Basically, the agenda they set was, we will make sure everyone who is in basically the upper 10% in global society will own nothing. And forget nobody's happy when they own anything. But basically, their agenda was everyone will know nothing by 2030. Dude, it's 2025. Like, we're 5 years away from 2030, and we're already almost there.
Pretty much. I like what you said before we started recording, too, is that just work in general makes you duller.
Yes, and that's a different topic. That's a whole different topic.
Shit. Okay.
No. Because I think it touches on this a lot. That would be a great part 2 to this video. Because it's like, on the one hand, you're blessed. Yeah. Like, that's how bad the situation is. It's like, dude, you're a slave?
Yeah.
Dude, you're a slave who makes just enough that you have some savings? Like, that's basically the point you were making. Like, even having some savings, which, again, pretty standard a generation ago. But, dude, you have a job that, like, you don't just earn the bare minimum for your life, but you can actually have some savings, dude? It's like that, dude, you're doing, again, what I was just talking about, the bargaining, like, threshold for Zoomer achievement, is societal achievement, the standard is so low, it's like, dude, you're doing really good! You're doing really good! You gotta save, like, like, $5,000 a year?
Yeah.
Whoa! And it's like, but, like, there's also a flip side of, like, work also just sucks. Like, it's draining and it sucks to do work. But, like, you're blessed. At the same time, you're considered blessed to be there. And it's just, like, it's just so messed up in every front, basically.
Yeah. I mean, the older I get, the less I really feel compelled to work at all. And there's even a part of me, and I'm sure, like, every Zoomer somewhat feels this, is like, maybe I will just go back to my mom's house. Maybe I will just live in the basement and play video games. Fuck this shit. I don't want to do this anymore. Like,
look, I mean, like, society, like, it is a thing. Like, if society expects its it's the population, and I think especially the male population to participate, it's gonna need to throw us some bones.
Yes.
Like, you know, like you need to provide some kind of carrot. It's like they're still operating under the carrot and stick model without realizing that the carrot's been cut off.
There's
no carrot anymore.
It's just, well, yeah, because I think about it too. Like so since we both live in Japan, it's like we're maybe, I don't know, 5-6 years behind, maybe, like, give or take.
Yeah, so it's still reasonably okay here.
Right. Like,
for now,
at least. I mean, it's still expensive, but like if I were to go back to the States, like my options would be probably to work as a barista. Probably could work at like a graphic design firm if I tried, but honestly with AI art, who knows? I probably couldn't. And I let's say I get the job, I have like a minimum $40,000 salary, and then I have an apartment I'm sharing with one or two other people, and I'm never even at the apartment. I'm not enjoying my job, and then my life is just like there's no artistic substance to it, and so my mind goes, well, I mean, I don't really care if I'm I don't even care if I'm at my mother's house, as long as I have some free time to make creative work and focus on what actually makes me happy. I'll take that lifestyle over any, pride that I would otherwise have felt as a boomer working in like the 1970s or 1980s. Like, who cares if you're working? Like, what pride is there to that?
But, like, I mean, talking about how crazy the standards are, like, let's say if you do get, again, you're that privileged, like, you're doing well with Zoom, you have that $40K a year job, and you still have to live with roommates if you're in America, but you're probably going to be in a city then for a job like that, especially if it's graphic design or something. You're probably going to be in a city. You're probably going to have roommates, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's crazy, and if you don't want to disclose this information, it's fine. I'll just share my own end. But, like, you recently, finally, signed the contract and have a new apartment.
Yeah.
How much is the rent for that? And by the way, it's your own apartment. No roommates.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Just your place. And how much is it per month?
I think it's something about, like, 50...
in dollars, roughly.
Like, roughly, if you were to adjust it exactly, about $300 a month?
$300 a month, your own place in central Tokyo.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, and anyone from America listening to that right now, that's like $300 a month in central New York. The biggest city.
Yes.
A place of your own to rent, to live in for $300 in New York. Imagine that. That's basically the equivalent of what you're talking about.
Right, and it's like, it's not bad. I think the reason it feels a little tight at times is just because like the wages are a little bit lower in Tokyo.
That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, like, not so much lower. I mean, it's the houses and apartments are so cheap that if you look at any website, like even just like I think it's called apartments.com, you'll notice that in Boston, Providence, it'll be an average like $1,800, $2,000 per month to live at some of these places. Like, you're gonna afford that by yourself. I mean, usually they say like a third of your income is usually the limit for any rent. Mm-hmm. So if you're like $2,000, you're making $6,000 a month minimum for you to be comfortable. And
imagine making $6,000 a month, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's like, what is that? Like $72,000 a year minimum, and like I think the average wage is more like $50,000 or $54,000.
Well, that's what's crazy is like how much higher the salaries are in America, but like how much less it gets you. Like I live I make a lot less than that.
Yeah.
But I live probably better with what I make than what I would if I was in America making that. Correct. And that's what I find crazy.
Yeah. No, that's so true. There's nothing. I don't really have a lot of nice things to say about American infrastructure or the cost of living or like the quality of life over there. And I think that this is something that like a lot of especially Americans who've never really lived abroad before and seen that there are actually other countries with better infrastructure. Like we have this pride about how it's American, but you look at it fundamentally, it doesn't work. It's shitty. It's not. It's like a glorified third world country.
I mean, the worst part is it's just getting worse. Now I'm hoping, we all hope with the current administration that things might at least start heading.
So.
I mean, like when you make a U-turn, it takes a while to go backwards, right? So like it's gonna be a while before we really notice any effects. But like let's just hope we could go backwards and actually get to the point where it's like the like the 1980s again or something, 1990s. That was a good time, It's going to take a while, but hopefully we're steadily steering back that direction. That's what I'm hoping for. But we're just given everything, the momentum is just so far in a bad direction, though.
No, I agree. It's going to take a long time to fix what the boomers did to just everything. I love AA calls it boomer truth, and I think like the people who are still in that paradigm, like obviously they're older than us, but as they move on out the door, Gen X becomes the dominant generation. I do have some hope that their cynicism it will not be as dangerous and like just harmful as the boomer selfishness, but I don't know, man. I could say the same thing for another 10, 20 minutes. You wanna?
I mean, the core, to cycle it back to the core theme, is just the threshold is so low for Zoomers. Because, as I said, the tree comparison, like low-hanging fruit, the tree's growing, and now that low-hanging fruit is high-hanging fruit.
Yes.
So, like, what are some other aspects that, like was considered just, like, well, of course, friends! That's one. Like, apparently, like, also Zoomers, like, just have less friends than people used to before. So, like, if you have a girlfriend, dude, you're doing well as a Zoomer. You have a job, especially one you can at least save some money from, dude, you're doing good as a Zoomer. If you have, like, friends you can hang out with, bam. It just reminds me of that joke from The Simpsons where, like, the bus driver guy, it's a scene where like he's looking like the Simpsons family is thinking about renting one of their rooms or something like that.
Yeah.
And Otto the bus driver comes in and he's like, "Whoa, windows? Looks like I can't afford this place." That's unironically where we've actually gotten to.
Yeah. I mean, I heard it's a lot harder to make. It's a lot harder to make friends when you don't live in a like a metropolitan area. And in Tokyo, I think one of the nice things is like you can always go to bars and you kind of develop your social skills a lot more easily because it's accessible. Of course, like you have the caveat of most people being Japanese, and that's a totally different discussion.
I mean, you're basically just dealing with entirely different group of people,
Yeah.
And having to rely on a language that is not your native language. So.
Right, and that's maybe it's difficult in its own right.
Yes.
But I mean, back in Wisconsin, right? So to get anywhere in a city like that, you have to walk. And I think I've said this before, but there would be so many days when I was living in Wisconsin during COVID where I'd be like, I'd wake up at 10 and I would think, well, okay, I gotta have breakfast, I have to take a shower, like pick some nice clothes if I want to. I mean, honestly, maybe that's not super important, but and then I have to walk 20 minutes to the bus stop, and then another 20 minutes to go to downtown, just so I can sit in a cafe somewhere where nobody's going to fucking talk to me. Like I would go. Some days I would actually muster up the courage to go downtown, but every time I'd sit down in either a cafe or a bar, and I'd see like old boomers, people in their 40s, people in their 50s. Or like other folks who already kind of have like their own friend group, and usually you can tell they're like just liberal white women probably.
Yeah.
Like okay, like even if I go over and try talking to them, it's probably not going to be an interesting conversation anyway, and they might think of you as like a creep. And you're like, why would I even go outside? Nobody wants to talk to me anyway. Like I had to go through all of that fucking trouble for nothing, and so instead I would stay indoors and write music all day because that was like somewhat preferable. But then like 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. would come around and be like, well, I don't really want to be out inside anymore. And I would go on these doomer night walks in the middle of the night just, thinking about my life. And I remember that's when I first started posting to Tantra's Humble, and I'd like make those videos of me. Like, I don't know if you saw the really, really early ones. But I was still in Wisconsin, I would just find like random places to place my tripod and rant about life because it was so boring. There's nothing to do. I'm like, what even is this? And I'm like, okay, I can't be alone. There are other Zoomers who are thinking like this too. And that's when I started realizing they're all on the internet.
Yeah.
We're all trapped on the internet.
Yeah, we're all trapped online now, yeah.
So, I don't know if you ever had that experience in Queens, but that's middle America, dude.
I mean, like, honestly, like, growing up in Queens, New York, it's honestly the same, you just have more tall buildings.
Yeah.
It really wasn't that much different in terms of, like, you know, you can hang out with your high school friends.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to hang out with your high school friends, or if you're also like me and you've just lived away for so long that you've basically, like, away from America so long that you've just basically lost touch with most of them.
Yeah.
That, like, if you want to meet new people, like, there are things you can do in New York. You do have more options. But, like, it's still, like, overall, like, not that much different. Although I will say, when I was in New York last year, I was visiting family, and and one of my high school friends who I am still in touch with, I was hanging out with him, and we were doing some day drinking in a park, which you can legally do if you cover up your drink. And I'm so used to, like, just walking around with cans of beer and stuff. Like, this is just a habit that I'm just not willing to relinquish easily. So we were, like, a couple of degenerates, and we went to a deli, and we got some beers, and it was hot. It was summer, too. It was August. It was hot, and we got some beers, and we put some in our shady-ass paper bags, which makes it legal to day drink. And we went to, like, some kind of park near a subway, and you know, there's some other day drinkers there. Well, consider they're all, like, you know, basically what you would call bums or whatever. But there's this one guy I remember who was but they were friendly, like, some of them, and they're all like from South America, because I think one was from Mexico and another guy. We ended up talking to another guy was from, like, Puerto Rico or something.
Right.
But they were friendly. We were talking to them. I'm not sure if you really want to become regular drinking buddies with these people. Your life's probably gonna go in the shitter real fast considering they're unemployed. But I mean, I guess, you know, I managed to talk to some people there. But again, if you're talking about actual like making new, you know, probably more higher quality friends, that aren't gonna drag you down in life. It's your opportunities are better in New York, but it's not like they're great.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, this
in my opinion, in my personal opinion.
Probably better in New York, but I still think, like, what we're describing is, like, we're already, like, a very specific cohort of Gen Z. We're, like, dejected young guys, and, like, that's dejected young guys. I think that there are many men who are still either blue-pilled or they don't realize what's going on.
I mean, it's different for them. Like, they kind of just, like, I mean, I was talking about this with my girlfriend. Like, yeah, that's right. I managed to hit that threshold, right? Like, I'm at least doing okay on that front, right?
Yeah.
But I was talking with her about, like the normies of the world throughout history. They're always do okay. Because they're just naturally attuned to the herd mentality.
Right.
So it doesn't matter the situation, they'll always be fine.
Cook.
They're always fine. So, like, even right now, you know, the normie, and when I say normie, I really do mean, like, the people, like, the P-zombies, or as the philosophical zombies, as it used to be called, as it's now known, the NPCs. But the type of people who just go through life and, you know, it seems like they don't really think about anything, but life just happens to them, and, you know, it goes okay for them.
Right.
The normies, they're just so well attuned to it's like they almost have a barrier that prevents real, actual, either psychological, existential, or any kind of psychological suffering, or really bad physical suffering. But it's like they have a barrier that protects them from the worst that life has to offer. And, like, they're always fine.
Yes.
But, like, if you're not, but the trade-off to that, I guess, is, like, you have to be, like, you know, like a hardcore normie. And again, it's just, if you have to try to be a normie, you're not a normie. It's just natural. You know these types of people. They just naturally are this way.
Yes.
And they are naturally immune to a lot of these problems.
They're naturally stupid.
You're probably not watching this video if you want.
You're probably not. If you're not a normie, that's why you're here.
In which case, yeah, things are probably tough for you.
Well, and the point I was getting at, again, I don't want to bitch too much about Wisconsin because it's almost been 3 years since I left. But even when I tried talking to some of my close friends, I think I can name one person, and it's Quinn. I know he's watching right now, but outside of Quinn, it was very difficult for me to have this sort of discussion with basically anybody because I wanted to engage in social critique, and I didn't want there to be any tone policing. So I would start getting into I don't know, what can I really say? The economy is screwed. Something that we all just kind of know. The hyper-normalization means that the normies don't see it and they think that everything is okay. I remember there was somebody a little bit older than me is telling me look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The economy is doing great.
Look, the NASDAQ, it's up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man.
Stocks go up.
Have you looked at your own fucking life? And I would even talk to my close family. My parents less so. I think they actually listen to me. But I would just feel a sense of loneliness because no matter how much I tried expressing these ideas and feelings, which I know people my age felt, I couldn't find them, and they fell on deaf ears, and it just made me feel mentally stir crazy. I'm I need to get out of here. I don't want to be trapped in my head anymore. And that's when I kind of realized the demographic of people I'm looking for is the dejected, straight, normal kind of terminally online dude, and therein lies the problem is they're terminally online. So get out there, man.
Yeah, because there's nowhere else for them to go. I know, dude, the rest of society's rejecting them.
Yeah.
Well, we know what the Karenification of society has done. I think we did a little video on that long ago. At least we had a rant about that long ago. But yeah, the Karenification of society has been a disaster for the human race.
Yeah, white women destroy everything. No, that's it. That's.
I guess that's it.
Welcome to modernity. Yeah, try to escape as soon as you can.
Ride the tiger.
Right.
If you know the reference, good on you.
I'm fucking jaded tonight. All right, Scrotly Mutley.